Sports are a wonderful distraction from everyday life. It's nice to watch a game and know for those couple of hours you don't have to think about things that actually matter, like your job, if you're gonna die alone with 50 cats, real stuff. But every once in a while, sports will go beyond the meaningless to give us moments that hit you dead in the feels and leaves you crying tears from deep within your soul. And whether or not you admit it, you'll need to get your tissues out because here are 5 times sports made you cry like a bitch. Number 5. Take Me Home, Dad. Everyone has a dream. Sometimes they don't come true, and that's okay. In 1992, Derrick Redman, a sprinter from the UK, was a few moments away from realizing his lifelong dream, and in the semi-final heat of the 400 meters in the Olympics, which were held in Barcelona, he lined up on the blocks and set off to chase his glory. And moments later, his dream was shattered. The former British record holder in the 400 meters had torn his hamstring and fell to the ground. And here is where we learn character can go beyond ability. Redman got up. On one leg, he began to hop towards the finish line. He had gotten this far, he wanted to finish the race. And if that's not enough to give you an allergy attack and make your eyes misty, Redman's father, Jim, burst onto the track and came to the assistance of his boy. Now here's a narrative I hope we all can understand. As a parent, you will never ever look at your helpless child and not want to do everything you can to help them. When they hurt, you hurt. It's as simple as that. As a child, whether you fell off your bike, got dumped by a girl you like, got fired from your job, or had your dreams shattered in front of millions, having your dad there with you is always going to make you feel better, and it will always feel right. The other part I love about this video is how Jim bursts onto the track and the officials try and stop him. Nothing stops a parent's love, and that's what carried them across the finish line. Redman in tears and those in the stands applauding. The victory won with character, not grace or speed. Reaching for the Kleenex yet? Number 4. Hot as a pistol. On February 15, 2006, in a suburb outside of Rochester, New York, in the gym the size of a postage stamp, on the shoulders of one high school basketball player, a 4-minute span of time would change the world. Jason McElwain, an autistic child who loved sports and basketball, served as the manager for Greece Athena's high school boys b-ball team. McElwain, who struggled with speech and social skills as a youngster, had spent his entire high school career as a motivator and assistant to the team. But playing wasn't something the challenged and undersized young man was thought to be able to do. But head coach Jim Johnston had an idea. For his last game, he would let Jason dress in a jersey and sit on the bench along with his teammates and feel what it was like to be a player. And if there was time, Coach Johnson might actually put him in the game. This was a real-life Rudy about to happen. Just that alone should get your crocodile tears flowing, and in his first 2 shot attempts, a bad miss from 3 and a blown layup, you would have thought the story was gonna end there quietly. Just a nice gesture. But Jason had other ideas, and when his long shot from the wing went in for 3, the crowd, who was highly aware of who Jason was and his story, went absolutely berserk. Jason wasn't done. Not even close to done. You get it. All said and done, J-Mac dropped in 20 points, 6 of them threes in a performance that would make Steph Curry jealous. When his last shot, a rainbow buzzer beater, found the back of the net, the crowd went into an absolute frenzy, a storybook ending to a truly magical sports moment that would resonate throughout the world, starting a trend of allowing those who dreamt of playing just one game the chance to go out and do so. This moment was truly reflective of the adage, never let someone else tell you you can't do something. Man, it's dusty in here. Number 3, help from the opposition. In sports, we are taught sometimes to hate the opposition, especially during a game. We usually save the sportsmanship for when the bragging rights are secured. But on April 26, 2008, 2 teams taught us that humanity is greater than wins or losses. In the second inning of a softball game between Western Oregon and Central Washington University, Sarah Tchaikovsky crushed a 3-run home run, the first of her NCAA career. In her excitement, she missed first base and went back to tag the base, and in doing so, injured her knee and collapsed. Unable to complete the circuit around the bases under her own power, her team would be forced to forfeit her run, and Sarah lay in agony on the dirt, the reality of her injury setting in. The rules state that Sarah's teammates cannot assist her around the bases. And here's where things change. Malorie Hultman, the first baseman for the opposing team, asked the umpires if she could help Sarah around the bases. After a brief discussion, the umpires allowed Hultman and Liz Wallace, another member of the opposition, to carry Sarah around the bases, which they did, kneeling down to allow her to touch each base until they finally brought her home. The moment seems so benign in the raw video, just like any other game, but the act of sportsmanship from the two girls who volunteered to carry their opposing player around the bases shows us that winning isn't everything, as they would indeed end up losing the game 4-2. It shows us that above all, humanity and decency will prevail. Number 2, all but forgotten. You might want to get a few tissues ready. This one is going to get you. In 1988, there was no more hyped an athlete in the Winter Olympics than American Dan Jansen. Jansen was the heavy favorite to win both the 500 and 1,000 meter speed skating sprints, and he was immensely inspired to skate even faster, as at the time, his 27-year-old sister Jane was battling leukemia. It had all the ingredients of a perfect storybook ending. Dan would likely win gold, and his sister would witness it. Surely, nothing could stop this. However, on the day of the 500-meter finale, Dan's sister passed away early in the morning. Heavy-hearted, Dan decided to still compete. International attention had begun to swell, as the narrative now changed to how he will respond to the grief of losing his sister. In the first turn of his 500-meter race, Dan fell, perhaps weighted down by a heavy heart. 4 days later, with the attention on him again increasing, Dan got another chance in the 1,000 meters. He set out on a blistering pace, his skating fluid and graceful. He was about to win the gold for his sister and break the world record. But near the end of the 800-meter mark, Dan fell again, almost inexplicably. The weight of the moment had crushed him, his dreams seemingly shattered. But Dan would not give up. 4 years later, Dan would try again in Albertville, where he did not fall but finished 4th in the 500 meters and 26th in the 1,000 meters, a disappointing performance for him. Dan would get another chance in Lillehammer, but by then his narrative was all but forgotten. No longer would television crews follow him around, nor were his heats and races slotted for prime time. And the lack of attention seemed justified, as Jansen only finished 8th in the 500 meters, the event he was the current world champion in at the time. Jansen would attempt to skate one last time in the 1,000 meters. Maybe not falling would be enough. Maybe a top 5 finish would be enough. Maybe a medal would be enough. But this time, Dan didn't have a weight bringing him down. Maybe he had an angel on his shoulders. Dan would go on to not only win the gold, but set a world record in the process. The failures long forgotten, the dream realized, the sacrifices made, and the victory won. It's not about when it happens, it's about making it happen.
Just say something to Jane, and then right as it ended, I just thought, just give a little salute. So I looked up and saluted her.
Number 1, the speech. I know this isn't an on-field type moment, but the 1993 ESPY Awards speech given by Jim Valvano has to be on this list. Let me tell you about Jimmy V, a tough Italian kid from Queens, New York, played ball at Rutgers, worked his way through the coaching ranks, hired as head coach at NC State in 1980, and took his team through one of the most improbable, emotional, and amazing national championship wins in 1983 when a desperation shot found its way into Lorenzo Charles' hands and history was made. Jimmy V is well remembered for running around the court looking for someone, anyone, to hug. However, things weren't so pleasant in his life from there. 7 years later, he was essentially forced to resign from his job at NC State, and 2 years after that, in 1992, he was diagnosed with adenocarcinoma, a bone cancer. Jimmy V put up one hell of a fight, but the cancer had become metastatic and it became clear his time was limited. Valvano, however, wasn't quite done. On Thursday, March 4th, 1993, Jimmy V received the Arthur Ashe Courage and Humanitarian Award at the ESPYs. Valvano was so sick that he thought he might not be able to make the speech, but he powered on. From the stage, he announced that he would be forming the V Foundation for Cancer Research. And he took his time, even remarking about how little he cared about how much time he had left to make his speech. His words that night were truly inspiring, and rather than trying to replicate his cadence, I'll just let you hear for yourself his eloquent commentary on life.
There are three things we all should do every day. If we do this every day of our life, you're going to have, what a wonderful, number one is laugh. You should laugh every day. Number two is think. You should spend some time in thought. And number three is you should have your emotions moved to tears. Could be happiness or joy. But think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day.
Jim Valvano would pass away 2 months later. Cancer may have taken Jimmy V away from us too soon, but it didn't take his wisdom, his message, and his inspiring story. I hope when you're down and things may not be going your way, you have the courage to say to yourself, don't give up. Don't ever give up. Wow, my allergies are acting up. I sincerely hope you would subscribe. I'm 5 Points Gaming, and you made it to the end of this video.